categorically the worst outreach message that I've ever seen. I don't know if you saw this email come in to our shared inbox the other day.
Have we started?
Yeah.
All right.
So I've been saving this one. It's from Adam, if that is your real name, Adam. And he has sent an email to 106 people, all in the to field. So there's faux pas number one. Instant, before he's even farted, he's managed to break GDPR ruling. And then the email says, writing services for fitness, nutrition, and online coaching. I am 90% sure that he's used ChatGPT to write this email. I hope this email finds you well. My name is Adam, and I specialize in writing content for fitness, nutrition, and online fitness coaching. I'm emailing to help you create engaging and informative content for your audience. Basically, his price is pay per script, £5 per script, or a monthly subscription service for £25 a month. And you receive 25 scripts per month produced by me, aka produced by ChatGPT. If you're interested in my services, blah, blah, blah. So he sent this to 106 people just as a splurge on the internet. And he's included some of the most generic scripts that I've ever seen. I was thinking of even like just trying to do some as a short, as a tongue in cheek. Are you struggling to stay motivated and accomplish your goals? It can be tough, but don't worry. I've got some tips to help you out. First, it's important to set small, achievable goals for yourself. This will give you a sense of accomplishment and help you to stay motivated. All right, thanks, Terminator.
Yeah, that is ChatGPT, isn't it? Because it's correct, isn't it? It's like solid advice
It's solid advice if you looked it up on Wikipedia, like completely devoid of personality and style.
Or, any input whatsoever. The thing I notice in a lot of these emails is there's like, hey, Johnny and Yusuf, and then like a sentence, and then the rest of it is in a different font or a different size. And you're like, man, come on, man. Like, if you want, like, just write a personalized email. I don't get this like mass outreach thing. Maybe they're smashing it, but everyone knows it's a broad outreach message.
If you're going to send a mass outreach, at least Command-Shift-V, paste without formatting. But You're right. So I've actually got a Counter-Strike now, which is an Alfred snippet that just says, hey, thank you for the message. We receive 10 to 20 of these per day. I just want to give you a heads up that the Hustlers University outreach method is not going to work, and it's the reason that you won't be seeing much conversion. Most small businesses do not want copywriting services by a freelancer, and I would suggest learning a skill that is actually marketable and providing some kind of portfolio. Hope you don't take this the wrong way. Thanks, Yusuf. Sometimes you get people being like, oh my God, like, I'm so glad you said this because I've been sending hundreds of messages and I've just been getting nothing. It's like, well, yeah, because you don't see the other end of it, which is how many messages people like us receive with email, the same copy-paste template. Yeah.
Same thing. It's all the same stuff as well, isn't it? It's all like video editing in the style of Alex Hormozy. That's like one offer. The next one is like, hey, I've been on your website and notice you don't seem to be making many sales of your insert product.
Yeah.
I can write 10 bits of copy, 10 bits of powerful, engaging copy that'll help. And I just always think like this email is surely your best bit of powerful and engaging copy.
And it's not very powerful. And it's not very engaging. Yeah.
It's like difficult to read. Like the formatting's off. It's poorly worded. And it's also just a complete sales pitch to someone who's never heard of you before. So like if that's the strategy.
Well, you're on the back foot because it's cold. The outreach email is poor quality and it's for a service that most people don't really value very highly. And then on top of that, you're not even writing it yourself. You're using ChatGPT to entirely write the most generic bit of shit script that no one's going to use. Like, how do you expect? And then like, it's tempting to reply all, but then I don't know that's probably opening a can of worms.
I think on the annoyance meter, I think this is higher rated for you than me. I think I almost just think it's pathetic and laughable. Like it is annoying how often we get them, but that's like I don't even know who's to blame for that. It probably is Andrew Tate, isn't it?
You nailed it a few episodes ago when you said like, of course he's teaching something which has the lowest barrier to entry because it requires totally unskilled stuff and anyone can write or even use AI to write something. But the real magic is not whether or not you use AI. I've got video about this, which will be out now actually, but it's the person operating it. It's the creative sign off. And that's the stuff that you can't teach. And then on top of that, like if you've a small business, you probably are doing email marketing. It's not something that you want to outsource readily. We've outsourced a lot of processes in the business, but you're still at the helm of the ship writing marketing emails because it's very hard to outsource that bit. If
Russell
you,
Brunson, sorry.
well, what's a good old?
It's just linked to that. Russell Brunson did a podcast years ago, which is like, you wouldn't outsource. I think he put it, because he's very PG with his language. You wouldn't outsource your lovemaking. Like you don't outsource sex in a relationship, do you? Like it's such an integral bit that like has to be you. Like you have to play that role, and if you don't, it's a bit weird. It'd be a bit strange. But like if you got someone to like give somebody a lift or do the housework, or you can outsource like lots of other things that are technically your responsibility, but you get somebody else who's better. But you can't outsource that bit. And I think like the marketing and the sales, the core of your business, selling your product, should be the last thing you outsource, not the first thing you outsource.
You wouldn't outsource your lovemaking. Such a Mormon.
Such a Mormon.
So
I've been thinking about this, just to wrap it up. There's a few people who I can think of at the minute who are absolutely killing it in the like make money online space. And the commonality is they all worked for a bigger company beforehand. So they all worked in a company in the space beforehand, learned a skill in that company, and then went and did their own version of it, or went and did like a kind of a segmented version of what they were doing. All these people who are like trying to set up an agency, like follow Iman Gadzhi and like, oh, I'm going to run my own Facebook ads agency, or like follow copywriters and want to go do that, coming from a place of having never done it before anywhere else at any kind of size or scale. Go and just like find loads of companies you like online that work in those industries and just say, hey, like, do you have any jobs? Like, do you have anything I can do? I'll work for minimum wage. I'll work for free. I just want to help and learn. Then you'll actually learn how to write engaging emails. You'll
it's
actually learn how
if,
to
like offering a service that's valuable and solves an actual problem is the way to go about it. And yeah, I'm seeing people try and fake that now by saying like, hey, I've done thumbnails and videos for Neil deGrasse Tyson and Alex Hormozy, and it's only $20. You're like, no, you haven't. Like, but you know that there's no way to verify that. So I'm not going to go and message Alex Hormozy and say, oh,
just to check, mate,
did this guy do your like really, if you're going to go down the cold DM route, which is not something we recommend as a strategy for everyone, like it's warm DMs only if you have zero traffic and you have to do it, but cold outreach is just thankless. If you're going to do it, the things which will bump up your response rate will be personalized voice messages, something that actually shows that you haven't just stumbled across that person and tried to say some generic, hey, cool content, bro, love the insert title. And then secondly, have something that person probably wants and will save them some time. And that there's no shortcuts for that. If someone outreached us and said, hey, I'm a PHP developer, I'm going to make you a web app to help you integrate this and this. I notice you're using this bit of software. It'll help you to save this monthly cost because I recognize that you're using Typeform, and actually if you integrate it here, you can generate some better results on your calculator. I'd be like, oh, yes, please. What's your price? Take my money. Or like, hey, I loved your video on this. I noticed it's long form, and actually I think it would suit quite well for a short form platform. Here's a couple of quick edits I've made. Do you like them? If you do, feel free to use them and I can do some more. Like, brilliant.
It's why people talk about like cold outreach as a strategy done like that has to be for like huge deal sizes or big deal sizes, because you can spend half a day researching a brand, putting that strategy together, putting the message together, recording the audio, sending the audio across. And if you get their attention, they say yes, it might be 10 grand, might be 20 grand. Like you solve the right problem for it. But whereas if you try to do that for 100 people a day on Twitter, you're going to get 100 annoyed responses or 0 responses. Actually, Alex, who used to work with us, got he got full-time employment for years by sending us a message.
Yeah, that's a high ROI.
Like he got that was like arguably a cold message, right? Like we didn't know who he was. He sent us a message saying, I really like the podcast. I really like what you guys do. Can I work with you for free for a bit? And then he helped us solve like various problems and demonstrate his value, and then was a full-time employee for a couple of years. So
no one wants to do the boring hard stuff. It's the same in training. It's the same, we had this clip from Gary Vee saying that a lot of online fitness coaches actually make this mistake of like, people know there's no shortcuts for this, and then you're looking for shortcuts with the business. Like what? It's not Larry David. I don't know why that voice came out. But there's a great talk. I think I've mentioned it before, from several years ago. I'll link it in the show notes, called Real Company Shit. And it's just this guy talking about search engine optimization strategies in mid-2000s, back in that kind of golden age of like Nyan Cat and the Numa Numa guy and that kind of era, Star Wars kid, where the internet was a different place. And he was talking about how rather than trying to do all the hacks and trying to get the do follow links and putting special tags in your header of your website, just do real company shit, which is the stuff that no one else wants to do. Just write good quality long form blogs. The principle is not so much the tactic, it's do the thing which is just manual and everyone else is afraid of doing because it's hard.
Well, there are people who are still succeeding in like the health, fitness, personal development space by doing that. Look at like Greg Nuckols' strategy, or look at James Clear. Like all they do is just write blogs on the internet, basically. That's not to diminish their efforts. I'm sure they do other things, but like at the core of it, they just write really good articles on a website. James Clear is a best-selling author. Greg Nuckols has got a huge brand in the fitness industry. Just because like Greg would sit down and write like the article on belts for training. And it's like, there's more references than anybody's ever going to read. But if you think like, should I wear a belt for training? The answer is like in a sentence at the bottom, beneath 5,000 words of well put together text.
He's just brute forced his way to the top of Google, isn't he? Through doing that. We've seen our friend Chris Williamson do the same thing with podcasting. You know, he came on our podcast once, was like, I quite like this. I think I've got quite a good skill for speaking on a microphone. And so he just put all of his eggs into that basket and shot way past us in terms of organic growth by just doing one thing really well.
It's had David Goggins in person
in
Vegas
church studio. Yeah. Meanwhile, we were trying to do Snapchat and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all this stuff at once, when really we should have just gone balls in podcast.
The thing that's really interesting about like seeing behind the scenes of Chris's development is it's like very linked to what we're talking about. Is I don't know what the numbers are, but I assume Modern Wisdom didn't make any money for the first, I don't know, at least the first year of Chris doing it, maybe longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that by itself is too long for anybody else, or like for 99.9% of people to bother.
So Ali Abdaal talks about this, and Jack Butcher. So Jack Butcher's a guy who covers some kind of design concepts and search engine concepts and stuff. And, you know, you've got this long line running along the bottom where you're getting no return. And then suddenly after long-term consistency, something just flies. Ali Abdaal talks about like, don't blow your load in, well, he wouldn't say that because he's very PG, but something along the lines of that. Like if you're a new YouTuber and you've just hit your first 5,000 subscribers and then Manscaped gets in touch with you and says, hey, we'll pay you £200 to promote this ball shaving device. Most people would be like, oh yeah, 200 quid, amazing. He's like, no, don't do it. Wait until big boy levels, and then the kind of sponsorships that you get are actually worth it. Then you can get sponsored by Skillshare and start pulling in 5-6 figures a month from promoting their stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's that like as soon as you monetize, it stops being cool, doesn't it? Stops being like the thing that I think there's something it's a flex to not have sponsors on something. Like on a big show, if there's no sponsors, you're like, wow.
Speaking of which, this podcast is sponsored by Burt's Bees lip balms. They are the best lip balms that we've ever used. Maybe the only ones.
I can't imagine trying to grow a podcast and the goal being to monetize the traffic. It must be so demoralizing. It's such a long road to like make passive income.
It's got to be something that you just enjoy doing for the love of it, which is incidentally what Chris was doing.
Yeah. I think, well, you're at there'll have been a point, I think, in Chris's journey where he started speaking to some like really fucking interesting people. And I think from that point onward, it's just effortless, isn't it? You just get to have a phone call every like multiple times a week with some of the most interesting people in the world and share that conversation.
We've had this conversation where like we've been like, what is driving Chris? Because it's clearly not money. We're not that sure whether it's fame because he's done the TV thing. And actually, I think it's just the love of the process.
Well, it's like it's all just a game, isn't it? Like business is just a game with loads of really hard aspects to it. And I think he's playing a business game, but also like a content game and a platform game and a subscriber game. Yeah, like there's so many aspects to growing the Modern Wisdom brand because he's got like views, subscribers, downloads, the CPM, how many sponsors he has on the podcast, how many sponsors he has on the YouTube channel. That's where you're climbing up the mountain and you exchange your shotgun with the monk who runs the shop stall for 2 axes. And then you go a bit further up and the wizard says, oh, would you like to
upgrade the magic on your axes. And so he's
You're like, fuck, I should
collecting
have
all
got the shotgun too late.
You have made it to the end of this video, so I have a special gift for you. I need you to follow this very specific set of steps. So step 1, click the subscribe button below. Step 2, go to the description of this video and follow us on Instagram and on Twitter. I guarantee we will level up the quality of your Instagram feed, your Twitter feed, and therefore the quality of your thoughts and your bank account. Step 3, click the link below that and join the Propane Inner Circle. You get free access to our 7 days to 1K as an online coach program, as well as the online coaching blueprint. And then if you don't want to do any of that and you just want to speak to us directly to work with us, then click the link below that and you can book in a time slot to have a chat with one of the team. Speak soon.